The Abandoned Asylum. The rain was pouring down in icy sheets as Jessica pulled her car up to the rusting gates of the old asylum. She could barely make out the remains of a sign through the downpour that read Graymarsh Psychiatric Institution. Jessica shivered, though she couldn't tell if it was from the cold rain soaking through her coat or the looming presence of the decaying edifice before her. This was the place her investigation had led her, the remains of an asylum shuttered in 1973 after reports of patient abuse and unauthorized experimentation. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out into the torrent, sloshing through the mud and overgrown weeds towards the towering facade of the asylum's main building. A flash of lightning briefly illuminated the collapsing roof and shattered windows like a haunting snapshot of the ruin's tragic history. She grasped the handle of one of the heavy oak doors and pulled. It screamed in protest, finally giving way and allowing her inside. The dank odor of mold and decay struck her nostrils as she crossed the threshold, fumbling for her flashlight. A feeble beam cut through the gloom, revealing a hallway with crumbling plaster walls and rotted doors hanging off their hinges. Her footsteps echoed loudly on the water-stained tile floor as she moved deeper into the asylum's labyrinthine corridors. Something skittered in the darkness up ahead and she froze, her heart pounding. The flashlight's beam revealed nothing but a crumpled gurney lying on its side further down the hall. She took a steadying breath and continued on. As she descended a cracked flight of stairs into the lower levels, a feeling of dread washed over her. These subterranean chambers were where the darkest secrets were kept, the forbidden experiments carried out. What horrors took place in these halls? The hallway opened into a vast room lined with row upon row of rusted cell doors. Jessica played the flashlight's beam across them, unsettled by how solid and intact they looked compared to the decay around them. Many still bore scratches and garish words scrawled into the metal "Help Murderers" and more disturbing inscriptions she couldn't make out. A bone-chilling sound like a whispered moan seemed to reverberate through the corridor and she froze, her breath catching in her throat. It came again, louder and more anguished, emanating from one of the cells. Cell 117. Jessica's trembling hand traced the number on the thick iron door as the desperate sound continued, rising in a crescendo like someone or something trapped within was in unimaginable agony. The discordant chorus of tormented murmurs soon joined the first voice, rising all around her until she was surrounded by a cacophony of eerie howls reverberating endlessly through the labyrinth. Jessica screamed and bolted, no longer caring about her investigation, about uncovering the truth. She needed to escape this place, to leave the abandoned asylum's malevolent presence behind her. The resounding echoes of anguished wails followed her every footstep as she fled blindly through the halls, sobbing in terror, until she finally crashed through an exit door and tumbled outside into the pouring rain, gasping and retching on the cold mud. As she struggled to catch her breath, head pounding, she looked back at the once imposing institution, just an empty, decrepit husk, but one that still seemed to radiate an aura of unspeakable suffering. Jessica vowed never to return, never to delve again into the grim history that transpired behind those asylum walls. Some stones were best left unturned, some secrets better off abandoned.